Good morning, or is it afternoon, or is it evening?
Depends on
I
your
don't
time
know.
zone
Yeah.
Yes,
and when you're listening to this.
All I know is it's lunch somewhere.
it is lunch somewhere. Hi, welcome
Not here.
to your last best hope for conversation, your Babylon 5 podcast. I am one of your hosts, Jesse Jackson. Joining me, as always, is Lou
Hello, everyone.
and Karen.
Hello. Happy Cinco de Mayo, you two.
Yes,
Arriba.
I am going
That's
to,
terrible.
I am cooking fajitas today
Oh,
Awesome.
yummy.
in honor of that. Yes. So, to celebrate Cinco de Mayo, we're going to have corned
Let's
beef
talk about
sandwiches.
torture.
Yes, we are talking intersections in real time. The 18th episode of season 4 of Babylon 5 originally came out on June 16th, 1997. This could have been if if they were knew they were going to get a season 5, that this may have been the season finale.
Oh,
And then, but because of things had to change, we had to do this. He changed things around. I did pull out my script book, and in this, JMS talks about that one of the things that they knew TNT wanted to buy season 1 through 4. And they said one of the things that his producer did was really good. He says he hasn't talked a lot about him, and I'll think of his name in a minute, but said while they were meeting with TNT, he goes, "It's a shame you guys aren't going to get the whole story." What? What do you mean? I thought we had the whole story. No, there was going to be a 5th season. You're going to get a good ending, but you won't get the full ending. And they said, what would happen? And so JMS had to go pitch what would be a 5th season, and TNT was interested in buying Crusade, a spin-off, which is a whole nother discussion we'll have down the road. So in the script book, he explains what this 5th season would have been, and they took parts of it when he actually got a 5th season. So I thought this is interesting. As our feedback said last time, this is an episode that a lot of people have different feelings about, and we will talk about that when we get to feedback. Because our wonderful listeners did send some different thoughts. So I'm going to be on the record. I liked this episode. I thought it was really well crafted, and it holds up on multiple viewing. Karen, your quick thoughts.
For a bottle episode, it wasn't terrible.
Okay. Very nice. Lou?
I thought it was a pretty good episode myself as well. I realized there's one big elephant in the room about the whole interrogation issue, but this type of episode is almost de rigueur for any type of TV series. And you have got the Picard, there's Five Lights episode, and then Farscape, there's the
Four lights.
Yeah.
And then the Farscape, we have John Crichton has a episode in the 3rd season, I want to say, where he's being mind tortured as well. And I don't think it's by Scorpius. I think it's by
It's the chick, right?
yeah, I think so. The episode I'm talking about, right?
Yep.
And
He's in the chair
and that nobody else ever finds out about it, which bummed me out. But and it was a fantastic episode. And sorry, I'm rambling here, but
Good.
I thought it was really well done. I liked the look of the episode. I thought the interrogator had a cool persona. So yeah, I quite enjoyed this episode.
And one of the things that in Lurker's Guide, JMS talks about, he was a huge Prisoner fan. So this had a little bit to influence. And then people said that a lot of people said this was similar to the movie, let's see, what's the name of it? Closet Land? Yeah. Yeah, Closet Land. It is, I looked it up. It is a movie that basically is about someone being interrogated that doesn't break. And he said that there's only so much you can do with an interrogation room, right? That was not based on it. He says, look at Midnight Express or anything others so this was not at all influenced by that. He said, if anything, it was The Prisoner. So I've thought about how do we break this down because normally we will talk about different characters and themes, but
Hmm.
this one there is really just two characters, the interrogator and John. So I thought we'd start out with the different ways maybe that they try to break John down. And then maybe we'll start, in fact, as I think about, we'll start with some of the what I think might be the elephant is a couple of people said, why didn't they just use a telepath to pull everything from him?
Hmm.
And the answer to Joe Stravinsky is they didn't want to pull information. What they wanted to do is
Was
break
breaking him.
him
Yep.
so that he could, and because if they just went in there and changed his mind, alien telepaths or other people could tell. So,
Yep.
what are your
Okay,
thoughts on
so
that?
hold
Go
on a
ahead.
minute. You said Closet Land, and I went, I don't know that I've seen that, but I have seen this movie with, hold on, with Alan Rickman in it.
Yes.
And it is actually Closet Land. Yes, I have seen that movie, and it reminds me of it a lot. Madeline
Yep.
Stowe and Alan Rickman were the only stars of that movie, and
Oh,
it was very, very
Who was the
interesting.
interrogator?
Alan Rickman.
Oh, okay. That's
Which
Yeah.
makes me want to see it.
yeah, because
Right.
Madeline
I have.
Stowe's
Yeah.
pretty
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
good. That was I was like, yeah, it's like this other movie. And when I looked it up, I'm like, okay, yeah, it's the one you said. So
Okay. Good.
yes, very much. It's in the same vein of that. Did you want me to go first?
Yeah, go. That sounds great.
Okay. All right. So let me start this by saying there were some parts of this that I didn't believe. And that I think that's what brought it down a little bit for me. I don't think that John would have had some of the reactions that he had. It was like he was buying into what the interrogator was saying every once in a while. The interrogator is saying, I would never lie to you. So here's the water. Why would you trust him? Even if he's saying, I'll never lie to you. Come on, that could be a lie. So there were a couple of things that I just niggled at me a little bit. Yeah. Your father, he passed me in the hallway and he told me to say hi to you. Come on. Well, John would know these kind of techniques, and that he is taken in by this whole thing of him killing the Drazi in the other room. Come on. Huh?
Fooled me.
Oh no. As soon as he brought the guy in, I'm like, that's a plant. That's an interrogation
Oh.
technique.
Do you not think that maybe just because John was so tired and broken down, maybe that's why?
Maybe he had the fortitude to tell that guy not to break, and
Yeah.
he made statements to the effect of, I'm not going to break, screw you, that kind of thing. So
Okay.
I do think that he was tired and hungry and beaten down and all that. I
Yeah.
understand that. But I do think that fundamentally, he wouldn't have been taken in by some of the stuff that the dude was saying.
Yeah, I think about the
Um,
drink that also we don't know how the toxin in that food affected him. Like it sounded like he was pretty dehydrated.
Okay, so
And
he jumped on anything to.
I think he would have, yeah, he was just so dehydrated that I just think he couldn't resist the drink. I'm just offering that as a
Sure.
plausibility thing. I agree with you. I was hoping for him to reject the drink, but
Right.
I understood why he probably was just so dehydrated that he just couldn't resist. But yeah.
And I wonder if he was okay, even if this is poison, it's going to be a slow acting poison. And so at least for right now, I'm going to have my thirst a little bit, my mouth, and then if I'll pay the consequences later.
Yeah,
No,
that's a slippery slope, though.
And I think that's one of the interesting things about this is absolutely the truth is fluid as they talk about. So the interrogator in his mind, even when he's lying, he's telling the truth because everything. And the idea of trying to break you down small steps, right? Like
Sure.
the corned beef sandwich,
Right.
right? It is you're hungry and you're going to lie and say it's lunchtime. Though I did think it was clever how John said it's lunchtime somewhere.
Right. Well, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
Especially when you're talking about the universe. There's someone
Yeah.
eating
Yep.
their
Yeah.
midday meal, whatever. And I'd eat a sandwich for breakfast. That's dumb. Why would there be an issue with eating it for breakfast. Oh, anyway, so there was just, I liked it. Don't get me
Sure.
wrong.
No, I get it.
But there were parts of it that I was like, come on. He would never have bought into that. But I did think that the interrogator was good. He's been in a million different things. He was in ER and I don't know, a lot of other stuff. But that dude is always good in that kind of deadpan role, hard ass. He's played a doctor that no one liked, or a judge. He's been a judge in a couple of things. That kind of role is made for him. And of course, the guy who played the Drazi was also Sebastian, and he was also a couple other people in it. He's been in
Wayne
three or four.
Alexander.
Right.
Yeah.
He's been in a couple. Lorian. He played Lorian as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
They thought there was a little bit of fun, the idea of him being, because he had played
the interrogator.
yeah, exactly. Right.
That's fantastic. So yeah, and of course he was in the same type of role in this, not that John knew it until the very end. But yeah, I liked it. And then when I think about all the times that kind of took me out of the episode thinking he would never buy into that, or that's dumb or whatever, there's a part of me that says I didn't like it as much as I should have.
Okay.
So that's my perspective on it.
Yeah, I think how you're going to react to the episode is going to be very subjective. I thought that some of the moments that maybe you thought John wouldn't have reacted the way he does, I thought he was playing the interrogator. Said, I'm going to go along with this for a while. I'm not really buying into it, but I just want to see where you're going to take me on with this. And so I was always giving him the benefit of the doubt as to why he was acting the way he was in certain moments. So that's how I took it. I do really like the interrogator character as well. As you mentioned, his demeanor and everything. I love the outfit, the costume that they put him in. It made him almost look like a priest. He had there was like a tie clip thing that almost made it look like he was wearing a priest's collar. And it was also like the feeling of a bartender or a Western barber. So it was just a really well chosen costume. And the minimalistic sets sometimes work really well. And I thought overall, I just like battle of will type of scenes. And this was just one long type of scene. So that's probably why I enjoyed it more than other people have.
Yeah, I do think it's what I enjoyed on the rewatch was the different techniques they were using. One, the pain givers, right? Because you didn't answer the question, don't counteract me. And then we get the sandwich. And I did love that John was like, yo, you're right. It was good corned beef. Mustard was a little mild for me, but yeah. And I do think that's a fair thought on the water. Since he had just poisoned you, would you do that again? And like I said, in my mind, there may be consequences later, but I'm going to go for this. Let's also talk about, I love the interrogators. Look, I just don't like empty form. So, right, is Susan your second in command? Right. It's the idea, right, that if you get them used to answering questions, you lead down that slope versus that's why they often, you'll say, I'm going to do my Fifth Amendment rights, right? Where you just don't answer anything because once you start answering something, you're down at the ropes. So any of the interrogation techniques that stood out for you, Lou?
I think it was more just how he played like very congenial and friendly. And then as soon as he brought out the confession form, his mood changed and it became much more menacing and whatnot. So I thought that was really well done. And color me embarrassed, but I fell for the execution of that prisoner. I thought that they had, because we've seen these kind of characters on the show all the time. So that lulled me into, okay, this must be a real, and I don't know if Earth has any love lost for the Drazi in any way either. So I was surprised to see that character come into the room in the first place. So I bought that. And I think probably the unique twist that this episode had versus other ones is that the interrogation wasn't over at the end. They were going to start it up again, which was a nice twist. I thought was really well done. And They also brought in that actor Bruce Gray, I think, who we've seen before, not maybe in B5, but I've definitely seen him in other shows. So
Yeah.
another character actor that I recognize. So I thought that those were the two standout moments for me, was the end of the episode and the Drazi quote unquote execution. So I thought those were the two best bits. What's missing from this episode is, of course, that cathartic moment when John would be able to stand up and say, "You didn't break me." And that's really the only thing that was missing from this episode.
Yeah. We get the spit, but that's about it.
Yeah.
Karen, how about you?
Yeah, and also him prompting the Drazi to do that,
Yeah.
I think was a little on that vein.
Yeah. And I think that John by nature is a leader. And so I think that it goes to his soul that it's one thing for himself, but then he had to get into that, oh no, don't do this. Don't do this. We can do this.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and see, I think that strengthened his resolve a little
I
bit.
did.
So it was going, and I think that the interrogator, I feel like when he did have that outburst, that he really did lose his cool. He was
Yeah.
getting frustrated by John. And I think also that maybe he had to suffer some consequences for not breaking. I feel like he had something on the line. And of course, that would be how someone motivates. If they motivate that way to one person, they're going to use it to motivate other people. So I can see where like they had some blackmail on this interrogator or something. And again, it's something I'm reading into it. So I would have liked for them to show me a little bit more instead of making me pull it out. And I remember you telling us last week that we'd either love it or hate it. And I think I'm not in either of those camps.
Okay.
I do think that there are parts of it I really enjoyed, and then parts of it that kind of dampened that enjoyment for me. So I'm almost in the middle,
Okay.
which
so
might be weird.
No, I'd like your thoughts because Lou mentioned a little bit about the ending. And I remember watching this the first time. I bought into the Drazi as well. And I thought, okay, they're done, right? He's strapped on that table. They're pulling him through. You have a priest kind of doing its version of last rites. And then to see that table change into the desk and that new interrogator coming in, they go, we're going to rinse, repeat. And you wonder how many more times had they already done that? Or or how many more times will they do that?
Or is this just a second time?
Yeah.
Well, it's
Any
definitely
thoughts, Karen?
something. It's something they've done, and
Yeah.
this is definitely something that they've practiced and honed. And to bring in another guy now, this is where I could see John having issues. He thought he was going to die, and now all of a sudden it's going to start right back up again.
Yeah.
And we know that he was beaten down the first time, so this time it's going to be worse because he knows that they'll do anything to get him to cooperate. He sees the Drazi. He's okay. I get it.
Yeah.
You're going to throw whatever you can at me, and I'm just going to have to take it. I do, however, think that might strengthen his resolve a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That he sees that they didn't really kill that Drazi. Maybe there's going to be a little skepticism in him moving forward. I think that might have been a bad move for them to show him that there was no consequences to that action that he took.
The Drazi is a collaborator, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of a why would they show him? And of course it's to show us.
Yeah.
That's why they brought him in at the end. I do think it was really cool to see this kind of all of the stuff, the table, the chairs, the desk, all of that. We're going to morph this room back into that.
Yeah.
From the ending of that one, now we're going to do a cyclical thing, except with a new interrogator. And of course, that means new techniques and whatever this dude's going to do. Yeah, I thought it was effective, and it leaves you on the edge of your seat a little bit.
Yeah.
Especially like what Lou said, why did we not have that kind of last stand type of scene? And I'm assuming something like it is going to come in the next episode. Again, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but if there was going to be one, it would be in the next episode. I hope they don't break him. That would be bad, in my opinion. I think Bruce's acting was great, even up till this last part of the episode.
Stay with you, Karen. What did you think it was effective, them showing him imagining Delenn?
They did that?
No, him. In other words, the show
Oh, yeah,
having
yeah.
him picture that he's seeing her.
I think that was the manifestation of him saying, I'd give in, but I have something to get back to.
Yeah.
And I think that is the best part of the episode, is him realizing what he has to do in order to make her proud of him, in order to be able to get back. Even if he never gets back to her, at least his reputation with her would be in one piece. If he capitulates, if he does this stuff and she sees it, that's it. That she's going to understand that he is no longer the same John. And so he wants to stay in that place in his life. And I do think that it's this whole trope of love makes you strong.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very effective. That was, I think, the most effective part of the episode. And it was like a nothing bit.
Yeah.
She doesn't talk or anything, where in other shows you might see her, bolstering him and all that. But really, she's just standing there in the doorway. So
yeah, I'm gonna get your thoughts, Lou, but I just watched 911. Just the latest episode had that two different. Chimney was being ill, and he had a devil and an angel on his side. And the person he was seeing was actually talking to him, and I thought it was very nice that Delenn is just there with you. I do wonder if, in my mind, I kept thinking. Go ahead, Lou. Talk about that, and then I'll ask another question. Talk about your seeing Delenn.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Karen said. Can't really add too much to it. I was curious about whether or not the interrogator would be picking up on the fact that he was staring off into the distance at these moments, and maybe with his experience realizing that he might be imagining something that might give him hope, but they didn't explore that at all, which is too bad. But those moments were good, and it's a visual thing that doesn't really need any lines with it.
Yeah, one of the things I liked is the interrogator saying, you're not gonna get off scot-free, right? We're gonna let you go. All you do this, we're gonna let you live your life, but they will come kill you sometime. So you will ultimately have to pay, but we're gonna wait till you're forgotten. And one of the things that I don't think it would have made a difference, but if they had said, and you and Delenn can go live your lives, because
but
they're not.
It was an empty threat for John, though, because the guy doesn't know that he's only got so much time to live.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other, I thought of that, and also the idea that because of his love for Delenn, he can't say that aliens influenced him, because he would have to deny his current love of his life. So that's a no-win game for him.
I think dying is also a no. It's not a risk for him. He doesn't care. Yeah. He's thinking, okay, if you're going to kill me 10 years down the road, why don't you just kill me now? To me, that wouldn't be an incentive at all.
Yeah. And I did love the way that the interrogator, so you say you've never been influenced? Of course you've been influenced. And it is that where you could, what I meant is, and luckily John did not go down that path. What else? Like I said, it is mostly just I'll give you a little background. JMS said that as he was writing this, he planned originally to just do this episode the way it was. The intersections in real time, where each between commercial breaks was actually in real time, right? And so then when you took a commercial, you came back and that was on. And he was a coward, and he ended up writing scenes with Garibaldi trying to convince people that he wasn't that he was under an influence. And because he said, I chickened out. I didn't have the courage to do an episode of just John and this other guy. And when it got to editing, the editor says, we're long. This episode is too long by 7 or 8 minutes. And he's, damn, okay, how are we going to get this done? And then a guy called and said, hey, you may need to rewrite because our next episode is coming up short.
Mm.
And he went to the editor and says, okay, cut all the Garibaldi scenes and put them in the next episode. And he says it came within the second of the right episode length, which he said sometimes the life is just good to you. So
spoilers.
Yes. So yeah, we'll get to see Garibaldi next episode, but you knew that was going to come. He had to try to convince things. Yeah. Any other thoughts on this episode we need to discuss?
It's hard to draw this out.
It is.
Because it's really only one thing.
Yeah, because I was trying to write notes and I was like, I don't know what else. It is one storyline.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Just like a story needs to be as long as it needs to be, our podcast reviews are as long as they need to be. So
absolutely.
There's no sense in dragging it out if there's nothing more to talk about.
Absolutely. I do agree that Ray Burke, who plays the interrogator, wonderful. And a nice little point was the old-fashioned glasses. So like those,
which brought the Western kind of vibe to it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought that was just really well done.
Yeah.
Lou, you want to give me a rating?
I'm going to give it an 8 miraculously unsoiled pants.
Oh, very nicely done. Yeah, they didn't show the.
I don't want to think about that.
Yes. Okay. Karen, how about you?
I'm going to give you corned beef sandwiches because I don't want to use that.
I'm not going to use corned beef sandwiches, so you can.
No, I'll give it. God, I hate being so low compared to you guys, but
no, that's.
I'm going to give it a 7 sheafs of papers.
All right, good. Yeah, I am going to go. I'm going to go 8.5 Drazi's in executioner mask.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it is an 8.08 on Lurker's Guide.
So we hit that.
Yeah, we did. So
our average is 8.
Yeah. So I thought a really fun episode, and we got some really great feedback. So Karen?
We did. We got 3 feedback emails, feedback. Anyway, I don't know what the plural of feedback is.
We got messages in real time. So
there you go. Thank you. Here's from David Darnell. Really, not much to say on this one. Pretty much stands on its own. Essentially a 2-person episode with Sheridan totally locked down in what appears to be the most uncomfortable chair ever. It becomes evident from the beginning that Clark's people really don't want information. There is only a half-hearted attempt to get practical information on Ivanova. Some questions. Wouldn't it have been easier to reprogram Sheridan the way Bester did Garibaldi? Why no Psychor Teep involvement with the interrogation? Does Sheridan's involvement with Kosh Lorien prevent that? Speaking of Lorien, the actor portraying the Drazi was Wayne Alexander, who previously played the Inquisitor and Lorien. Was the Drazi actually a plant, or did Sheridan hallucinate seeing him at the end of the episode? Oh, I think he was real.
I think so too. And JMS says he is absolutely real, or the episode doesn't work.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Sheridan has clearly been hallucinating at this point with his vision of Delenn. Casting Ray Burke was right on point. JMS wanted someone who could be banal yet sinister at the same time. No word on how he really likes his corned beef sandwiches, though. Join us next week when Garibaldi discovers he needs more fiber in his diet. Okay, that's an interesting thing.
Nice.
Okay, from Texas Onlo Shock. So the question I have is, was the Drazi turned a collaborator? Was he even a Drazi? What do you think? I don't know. I think he was a Drazi.
Yeah, I think so. Though we did see when they did the Babylon 5 shop that they had masks people could buy. But yeah, I think he was a real Drazi. Yeah.
I think he was a real Drazi and that he was just sympathetic to Clark's. We see that the Drazi are all over the place on the ship. The ambassadors are for it. They're against it. So yeah, I think it was that. Plus, he had the added bonus of John knows that the Drazi people are proud
Yes.
thing going for him.
Yeah.
Now, after all the buildup, all the battles and twists, we come to one of the oldest forms of performance, two men in a room talking. This is something that demands top performance from the actors. Because there is literally nothing else to look at, they must be able to command the audience's attention with no assistance from the set or external factors. We've seen instances of this before, often involving Peter Jurasik and Andres Katsoulis, but those were usually shorter scenes in a larger story. Here, the conversation is the story. Bruce Boxleitner and Ray Burke do an outstanding job. This contest of wills between them can be plainly felt. Summed up in that one line, you just have to say, "No, I won't," one more time, then they can say, "Yes, you will." The methods used by the interrogator are varied, ranging from overt to subtle, and everything about this is a carefully constructed stage. A featureless black room, a light that can be used to change night to day, various props, and a script. Everything William does is for a purpose. Telling Sheridan about his dad, for example, assuming they actually did cross paths, was not just an act of charity. We see its true purpose when William instructs Sheridan to say, "Thank you. It's only polite, after all. Be a good boy." And despite constantly claiming that he has said nothing but the truth, William lies constantly, sometimes in the same sentence, then tries to gaslight Sheridan into thinking he never said that. I love that Sheridan wins, at least this time around, by turning William's words right back at him. If truth is relative, then the truth is whatever I decide it is, which means I can beat the system. And then the whole process starts all over again. I'm guessing they figured Sheridan wasn't going to break from this. They probably thought, if he signs, great, job's done. But not if we just go through the entire process again. Maybe with a few variations, but the point here is to disassociate him from reality so they can replace it with whatever they want. How long can he hold out against this? And how long before someone comes to get him? Only time will tell. Until next time, get some sleep. You'll need it. And if you don't, you'll have to put up with me nagging you about it. Rangers never bluff. This is the Texas on the Shock signing off. Does that mean we get Marcus?
Maybe.
All right, good. And this is from Nate. Hi, Nate. Hey, I've never liked this episode for various reasons. First time, I didn't like it as a small stage play that paused the arc of the season near its peak with stupid 40-minute dialogue about convictions and morality when I know who's right. Later, I began to appreciate the way it's made and the points it makes and how Earth's, quote, enhanced interrogation technique, unquote, factory is organized, but that episode still doesn't work for me. There are two reasons. The first one is, right from the get-go, I never understood why there's a need for any kind of persuasion and torture when you have telepaths. B5 is one of the few pieces of media that doesn't play coy with the subject by making them weak or extremely rare or enemies or telepaths. When X-Men were made into movies, they solved this problem by making Professor X indisposed anytime a human problem arises, because really, a telepath solves any human-related problem, more so with less conscience he has. Another reason is the subject, Sheridan. I never believed he was in any danger. He's a cookie-cutter good guy, protagonist. They never really change. They are merely challenged and plow on in their course. But it could work for someone like Garibaldi, Londo, or Jakar, even if it was a way that's not intended by torturers. With regards, Nathan.
Nice, Nathan.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really appreciate the different feedback on thoughts on that. Any comments, Lou, Karen?
Yep.
Okay.
I think that's right. Yep.
Yeah. Did we get any posts on our YouTube channel?
Yeah, we got a couple. The most interesting ones are Nathan's there as well. He's talking about the tranquilizer. He actually liked the fact that it was slow acting because we got those scenes. Plus, in real life, they only act quickly if they're done intravenously. That's good. Then there's a lot of discussion about how much of Garibaldi was still Garibaldi, or how deeply he was mind impacted by the programming. And I don't think we disagree with what anybody's saying here, but except for William writes that there is no fake Garibaldi. All Bester did was remove his inhibitions, his impulse control. Garibaldi is paranoid. He does not trust or like telepaths, but he checks his impulses to function in society. That is until Bester. He wanted sex from Talia, and that overrode his distrust, even if we are honest about him. No excuses. What Garibaldi did to Sheridan was all him, just minus the impulse control to make him question his gut. He is someone who should never be in law enforcement. I That's a pretty extreme view from my perspective. If we take away our impulse control from everybody, then really what are we going to do? And that that dichotomy of the good part, the moral and the immoral parts of our personality, with if you take one away from the other, then that's not really who you are anymore. So because you need the both halves. As if you've seen like the Star Trek episodes where Kirk gets split by the transporter,
Yeah.
you see the two halves, how different they are. But that doesn't mean that the bad half of Kirk is that's, or the good half of Kirk is that's the real Kirk. It's both halves together make the real Kirk. Or the Mirror Mirror episode where you have everybody's got an evil version of themselves. That one's probably a little more nuanced because the whole universe is set up like that. But I don't agree with the view that just because you take somebody's inhibitions away, that shows who the real person is. I think that it's a whole gestalt between the two parts that make up the person that you are. And
I also think that Garibaldi didn't have anything against John.
yeah,
I don't think he hated John. And because of all this mind control, it turned him into someone who disliked John. So
Mhm.
I think that was completely against his character. So I also have some issues with that.
Okay. Jesse, any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
Or-
So I get where you're coming from. I think Garibaldi is Bester talked about it. There's paranoia that he just pushed a little bit. But I also think Garibaldi is very loyal. And I think that's what they had to change because
Mhm.
once he accepts someone, right?
Right.
Like we had that scene where the fighter came in one of the earlier seasons and where he went looking for Franklin and other things. So I think that's what they had to change, not that because I think that he would not have betrayed John this way without the other thought. I
Right.
think he would have fought more to change him within. But yeah, I think it's there is a little bit of Garibaldi is a loose cannon at times. So yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And that's it.
All right. If someone wants to reach you, Lou, and to give us feedback, how can they?
They can do that at Lou's Review on YouTube, or they can check me out on Twitter at Lou W. Sitzma. Also on the YouTube channel at Lou's Reviews, we have our JKL Media one-off podcast where we review miniseries, books, movies, and as well as I have my writer podcast and my Stephen King podcast.
Nice. And Karen, how about you?
You can email us at jklb5podcast@gmail.com. And I am at Oliveria on the various social medias. And there's a link in my bio to my blog at which you can find a lot of interesting links if you care to go there.
And I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter. You can find me in Facebook. And you can hear me talking music on Set Listing Bruce, John Hyatt on Perfectly Good Podcast. And coming up, new Doctor Who. So for the next 8 weeks, we'll be talking Doctor Who with Charles on Next Stop Everywhere. All right, guys, it was an interesting one. Thank you for giving the feedback. Thank you for talking. As always, we have a good time. We're slowly getting to the end of 4.
Wow, hard to
We're
believe.
making our way. Yeah, I know it is. Yeah. So for now, everyone, be safe, be kind, and we'll talk to you soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yay.
And see.